Hello everybody. I'm going to teach you a wonderful little asana practice this afternoon that will work into the pelvic floor. Will also work into strengthening a lot of the stabilizing muscles around the pelvis area. So what I'm asking that you have prepared is a couple of blocks, just in case you need them. I do like to use them quite a fair bit during my practice. So if you're not used to using blocks, I, give you the opportunity to give it a try. Let the body form into whatever place it wants to go into today. So we'll start with the practice today. We'll start with a short pranayama practice, followed through asana and through a short shavasana. So let's find yourself seated. I always like to elevate my hips to give space for the pelvis to shift so that we have a lot of room for our lungs. So if you have a blanket nearby or a bolster, sit up onto the bolster. I want you to lean forward, grab the flesh of the buttocks, pull them back and up, and then sit down onto your supports so that we have the base of the pelvis connected to whatever your supports are. Let your hands rest gently on your thighs. Close your eyes for a moment and just allow yourself to connect with your breath. Breath is one of those things that we ignore. We, meaning I, ignore for a good portion of the day. So by connecting to the breath, we can gather a lot of insight as to how much stress the body could be carrying. Just by noticing, where do we feel the expansion in the body when our body is just breathing itself? Is there an area of the chest that you can sense the breath more than another? Does the breath wish to enter and exit the body quickly? What observations can you make? Not judgments, just observations. Now begin to invite your breath to deepen. Visualize the bottom of your lungs. And draw the breath into the diaphragm, not by forcing, but by slowing down and once again observing as the breath deepens. What feels different from just a few moments ago? Is there a deeper sense of the respiratory diaphragm moving? What do I feel in my side ribs? What is felt in the back of the body? The easiest place for our breath to move is into the soft tissues. With your mind, direct your breath Feel it lower down and come forward, but then invite the breath into your side ribs, And then into the back as well, towards your kidneys, the lower ribs and the back. And as the breath leaves, feel it soften from the lower back first, into the side ribs, and then into the front of the body. And can you invite this breath to slow down even further? Drawing your awareness into your throat, create a gentle constriction, the softest of Ujjayi breaths, to increase the awareness of how fast or how slow your breath is moving in and out of your body. I often like to invite a count into my mind. And as I draw the breath in, I count to 5, and when I release my breath, I count to 10. Drawing the awareness of this breath even deeper into the body. I want your awareness to move into your pelvic floor. This diamond-shaped opening from tailbone to pubic bone and sit bone to sit bone. Is there any sensation of breath in that diamond-shaped opening? Can you search for a gentle stretch as the breath draws in? Can you feel a soft releasement as the breath leaves the body? This is a very subtle sensation. So if it is something that you do not feel, it's okay. We sit in a neutral position, meaning that we are on the bottom of our sit bones. The diaphragm of the pelvic floor moves in unison with the diaphragm under the lungs. It stretches as we breathe in. As we exhale, it parachutes and draws into the body. Just a few more breaths. Just explore any sensation. Can this slow, deep breath that expands in all directions also be felt as deep as the pelvic floor. On your next exhale, let your chin move towards your chest. Let your eyes softly open towards the floor. Ground yourself back into your space. And then when you are ready, you can lift your head and bring your presence back into the room. All right, let's come to the front of our mat, standing. Now I've got my blocks towards the front of my mat to grab for easy access, so I like to leave them here. But another great prop is a blanket, one of these Mexican blankets, and if we don't have one of those, towels are nice and dense as well too, and we can use them to assist us if our body does not have the space that we would like it to have. All right, so look down at your feet. I want your feet to be parallel, hip distance apart, meaning that if you were to place both of your fists together, that's about the space that you would have between your feet. That way the bone structure helps to support the body, as opposed to a lot of the muscular energy that's needed if we are not stacked on top of our bones. Press your feet into the mat, let your toes spread wide, and I want you to wiggle your feet from side to side so that you can feel where is the center of gravity in my foot. What we're searching for is to feel gravity from the big toe mound, radiating to the pinky mound, and then straight into the center of your heels, creating this triangle shape foundation. Now let your awareness move up. Are the knees hyperextended? And if they are, take the slightest bend to the knees. Notice where the pelvis is in space here. A very common way to stand is through the ligaments, and we let our body fall forward, even if it's the subtlest amount. And we tuck our tail and we draw the pubic bone up. Take your hands to your hips, and I want you to feel where exactly your pelvis is within space. If you could imagine that the center of the perineum has a plumb line straight down to the floor. And the way we can feel where our bodies need to be is by closing our eyes and noticing the breath, and just tilting the pelvis back and forth. And when we find the perineum level with the mat, our breath becomes softer. The lungs will take more air into them. Just notice any subtle sensations. Let your eyes open, arms reach up towards the ceiling, palms press into each other, diving forward, Uttanasana, forward fold. Now as we come forward, notice where's the center of gravity in the foot. For many of us, we lean back into the heels. And by doing so, we press the sit bones back, putting an immense amount of strain on our lower back. Coming forward, we invite the back of the legs to take as much stretch as the spine. If the floor is a long distance away, we lift the floor up. We place blocks underneath our hands. Let our neck be soft. And then bending deep into your knees, Utkatasana, chair pose, arms reach forward, sit bones press back, and now we lean into the heels. As we do so, the glutes turn on. We can even squeeze the glutes a little bit tighter. And then pressing through the heels, slowly rise, chest lifts. Palms press into each other, diving forward, Uttanasana, forward fold. Shifting forward into the middle of the foot, upper body softens. Our hands might be on blocks, they might be on the floor. One is not better than the other. Just find where your body needs to be today. Bending deep into your knees, arms reach forward, Utkatasana, chair pose. Leaning back into your heels. Feel the glutes turn on, the hamstrings. Press your sit bones back, arms reach forward. Pressing through the heels, slowly begin to stand, chest lifts. Palms press into each other, diving forward, Uttanasana, forward fold. Place your hands on the mat, bending your knees if you need to do so, stepping back into plank pose. Nice straight line with the body here. Now this can be done from feet, this can be done from knees. But imagine that you are in a standing position. We don't want to poke the butt up, we don't want to collapse into the ligaments and let the pubic bone fall forward. Nice and strong. Push through your arms. I want you to notice, where do you feel gravity in your hands? And we want to try to access into the thumb mounds more than the pinky side of the hand. And that has to do with bone structure. If we lean too hard on the pinky side of the hands, we start to compress into some soft tissue that runs between the ulna and the carpal bones. Just a couple of more breaths. Either from feet or knees, begin to bend your elbows, keep them tucked into your ribs, lowering to the mat. Point your toes, widen your feet to the wide edge of your mat, start to lift the chest away from the mat. Now the head is just coming along for the ride here. The elbows stay tucked into your ribs, and I want you to notice the strength of your lower back, the strength of your glutes, and how much they are working to not only hold you, but stabilize you in this position. Lowering the chest. Press yourself to all fours, sitting back into child's pose. Extending the arms out in front, even walking your fingertips a little bit farther forward. Bring yourself back to all fours, curl your toes under. Lift the knees just a few inches away from the floor. Take your arms, press through those thumb mounds, start to lengthen the spine, but keep the knees deeply bent here. Now I want you to notice what's happening in the front ribs. It's really common to push those ribs forward. I want you to keep them tucked in. Keep the knees deeply bent. And now lift the sit bones. Not because we straighten the legs, only because we manipulate the pelvis to lift upwards. This creates a beautiful stretch from sit bone to sit bone, pubic bone to tailbone. And then on your next exhale, allow the legs to straighten. Pushing through your arms. Once again, try to push your arms through the mat, through those thumb mounds. The easiest way to access those thumb mounds, if you're not feeling them, is to turn your fingertips out a slight bit. And now slowly pivot forward into plank pose. Nice straight line with the body. I want you to notice what you feel in the soft tissues of the belly. And now draw your awareness into the perineum, that band of muscle from sit bone to sit bone. And I want you to very softly engage that muscle. We're not clenching, we're not holding, we're just drawing it into the body. And I want you to notice if you can feel a change to the front of your belly. You can feel more muscular engagement. Elbows bend slowly, keep them tucked into your ribs, lowering to the mat. Point your toes, widen your feet to the wide edge. Start to lift the chest away from the mat. Keep the elbows tucked in. We're not lifting with the chin here. The head just comes along for the ride. We want to feel the energy of this pose radiating from our lower spine. Softly releasing the chest. Press yourself to all fours. Sit back into child's pose. Slowly coming back to all fours. Curl your toes under. Press through your thumb mounds and lift the knees just a few inches away from the floor. Pressing through your arms, lengthen your spine, but keep the knees bent nice and deep. Keep the lower ribs drawn in. Lift the sit bones without straightening the legs. And then on your next exhale, allow the legs to straighten. Looking towards your hands, in as few or as many steps as you need, bring yourself to the front of your mat. Uttanasana, forward fold. Legs are straight, center of gravity's in the middle of the foot. Neck is soft. Bending deep into your knees, arms reach forward, Utkatasana, chair pose. Lean back into those heels. Turn those stabilizing muscles on. Arms reach forward. Press through your heels, slowly beginning to rise, chest lifts. Palms press into each other, drawing them into your heart. Closing your eyes for a moment and just checking in with the body, with the breath. Can you feel your heart beating through your chest? Hands come to your hips, eyes open, sitting back, Utkatasana, chair pose. Lean back into your heels. Press your sit bones back. Slowly start to drift gravity onto the left foot and lift the right foot just an inch. Holding for a moment, and now slowly starting to extend that right leg behind you, but keep your pelvis as neutral as possible. How horizontal the body gets does not matter. If we can get horizontal, awesome. If we can't, awesome. Warrior 3. And now very slowly and as silently as you can, start to bend your front knee and allow the back foot to land on the pad of the foot. Lifting the torso, inner thighs engaged towards each other. Keep the lower ribs drawn in. Reach your arms forward. High crescent lunge. If you can, clasp your hands together overhead. Point your index fingers upwards. If the shoulders have issues, we can bring them forward here. Keep those lower ribs drawn in. Now what you might sense within your pelvis is that it is tilting anteriorly. It is pressing the pubic bone towards the floor in this pose. We want to draw the pelvis back into neutral. So take a bend into that back knee. Draw the front hip point slightly upwards. Not to tuck, we're not trying to draw the tailbone down. We just want to bring the perineum level with the mat. And now take your body and slowly arch to the left. Bringing yourself back to center. Release your hands to your hips. Take your left hand, windmill it towards the back of the room. If you can, reach your right arm forward. Keep squeezing the inner thighs towards each other. Keep that bend in the back knee. Breathe as long and as deep and as slow as the body feels comfortable. Not without effort, but with deep mindfulness. Bringing the body forward, hands come back to your hips. Take your back foot, turn it parallel to the back of the mat. Bending into that front knee. Make sure that the knee tracks in the middle of the foot. Really easy to curl that knee inwards, and we want to try to keep it central. And now most of us will probably be pushing forward with the toes. I want you to push straight down into that heel and feel that inner thigh and that back glute really turn on. Arms reach from front to back. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. If you feel that you are collapsing from the belly forward, which is another common thing to happen in Warrior 2, I want you to draw the hip points up slightly just to engage the belly, rather than just collapsing forward. A lot of women who have had more than one child, this can be an issue. Hands release to your hips. Turn your body towards the wide edge of your mat. Turn your left foot parallel to your right. Slowly start to bow forward. Being mindful of where is the center of gravity in my feet. Don't bring it back into the heels. Once again, we'll be pushing and straining the lower back if we do that. So if we stay in the center of the foot or towards the pads, then the pelvis rotates right over top of the femur. We get a beautiful elongation of the hamstrings as well as the lower back. Slowly lifting the body. Turn your heels in, your toes out, and start to bend deep into your knees. As you bend into the knees, don't let the knees come into the center. Keep them wide. How deep you bend is completely up to your body. Press through the heels. And I want you to connect with your breath. On your next exhale, I want you to slowly lift and draw the heels towards each other. As you inhale, I want you to bend into your knees. Exhale, slowly straighten, draw the heels towards each other. Inhale, bend nice and deep. Staying here. And then on your next exhale, once again, straightening into the legs. Standing tall, take your left foot, turn it parallel. Turn your right towards the narrow edge of your mat. Bending deep into your front knee, adjusting your feet if you need to. Once again, as we bend that knee, you might notice that the center of gravity pushes forward in the toes. Come straight down the heels. Arms reach from front to back. Warrior 2. Once again, if you feel like your pubic bone is falling towards the floor, if the belly is coming forward, softly engage your hip points upwards, just so we feel an engagement into the transverse abdominis, this muscle that girdles our body here. Hands come to our hips. Turn your body towards the narrow edge of your mat, Bending nice and deep into that front knee. Back heel comes away from the mat. Inner thighs are engaged. Make sure those lower ribs stay drawn in. Arms reach forward, maybe up. And if it's available, clasp your hands together. Index fingers point. And now once again, we notice where is the pelvis in space. And it will be drawing the pubic bone towards the floor in this pose. Let's take a nice bend into that back knee and draw the pubic bone up slightly just to bring the perineum level with the mat. And then in this position, arch over to the right. Slowly coming back to center. Release both hands to your hips and then windmill your right arm back, twisting the upper body, maybe releasing the left arm forward. Slowly coming forward, bringing both hands to your hips, bow over that front leg, take a big leap of faith. Step away from that back foot, straightening into the standing leg. Be conscious that it is not hyperextended. And then we play with horizontal. How horizontal can we become without taking the pelvis away from neutral? That means we're not opening the hip. We're not dropping it either. If we had 2 feet on the floor, that's where we want the pelvis to be. And now start to bend into that standing leg. Slowly lower the left foot to meet the right, bending deep into your knees, lean back into your heels, arms reach forward, Utkatasana chair pose. Pressing through your heels, slowly begin to rise, chest lifts, standing back bend. Draw your hands into your heart. If it's available, close your eyes. Check in with the body and notice, is the temperature different? Is my heart beating more? What do I feel? Hands come to your hips. Bending deep into your knees, sit bones press back, Utkatasana chair pose. Lean onto your right foot, lift the left just an inch. Find your balance here, and then once again extend that left leg behind you, straightening into the standing leg, warrior 3. Hands at hips. Gaze is looking towards the floor. Pelvis is neutral. And now as softly and as quietly as you can, bend that front knee and let the pad of the back foot land on the mat. Lifting the torso, inner thighs engaged, lower ribs drawn in. Arms reach forward and up. If that's available, clasping the hands together, index fingers point. And once again, let's bring that pelvis back into neutral. Bend that back knee. Perineum is level with the floor. We are not tucking or rounding the lower spine. We're just bringing ourselves back into the natural curves. Press through the heel of that front foot. Arch to the right. Slowly coming back to center. Releasing your hands to your hips. Take that right arm, windmill it behind you, opening the body to the right. Maybe the left arm reaches forward. Keep those inner thighs active. Releasing your hands to your hips. Take your back foot, your left foot, turn it parallel to the back of the mat. Bending deep into that front knee. Center of gravity comes straight down the leg, straight down into the heel. Arms reach from front to back. If you feel that the pubic bone is hanging forward, softly engage the muscles, the front hip points upwards to engage the belly. Hands come to your hips. Turn your body to the wide edge of your mat. Right foot turns parallel to left. We slowly start to bow forward, and as you do so, be mindful of where is gravity in my feet. How far you bow forward is completely up to you. Slowly begin to lift the torso. Turn your feet out, your toes out, your heels in. Start to bend nice and deep into your knees. Knees stay wide, they don't come inwards. Press through the heels. On your next exhale, squeeze the heels towards each other and straighten the legs. Inhaling and lowering. Exhale, drawing up and in. Inhaling, lowering and lengthening. Exhale, squeezing in and drawing into the body. Inhale, keep a nice deep bend on those knees. Holding here for a moment. And then slowly lengthening the legs. Take your left foot, turn it towards what is possibly the front of your mat. Back foot turns parallel. Bend into that front knee. Adjust your feet if you need to. Press straight down through the heel of that front foot. Arms reach from front to back. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Hands lower to your hips. Turn your torso towards the narrow edge of your mat. Shift that back foot from flat to the pads of the feet. Heel is lifted away from the mat. Nice deep bend into that front leg. Once again, push down through the heel. Inner thighs engage. Lower ribs stay drawn in. Arms reach forward. Maybe they lift up. If you can, clasp your hands together. And then let's bring that pelvis back into neutral. Bend that back knee. Draw the front hip points up slightly, the pubic bone. Once again, we're just coming back into neutral, into the natural curves of the spine. And then arch to the left. Slowly coming back to center. Releasing your hands to your hips. Windmill your left arm back. Maybe reach the right arm forward. Keep the inner thighs active. Keep that back knee bent. And slowly coming forward, hands come to your hips, bow over that front leg. Whew, and step away from the back foot. Pelvis is neutral. We find whatever horizontal our body feels it needs. And then we slowly start to bend the standing leg, bring the right foot forward, landing beside the left, sitting back into our heels, sit bones press back, arms reach forward, Utkatasana chair pose. Pressing through your heels to slowly stand. Chest lifts, palms press into each other, drawing them into your heart. Once again, noticing, how does the body feel? Can I feel my heart beating in my chest? Eyes open, arms reach up towards the ceiling, palms press into each other, diving forward. Uttanasana, forward fold. Placing your hands on the mat, bending your knees if you need to do so. Stepping back into downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And then lowering down to your knees. Bring your big toes to touch. Knees spread to the wide edge of your mat. Sit back into child's pose. As you bow your head forward, I want you to bring your forearms underneath your forehead. Rest your head on your arms. Just let this pose be as nourishing as possible. A lot of effort in our standing poses. How is that processing? Now engaging your arms. You need to walk your hands towards your knees. Cross one ankle over the other, supporting yourself as you come onto your seat. If you brought yourself off your mat like I have, scoot yourself forward. Now we need to have either a block nearby or a blanket that is stacked up like a bolster. So I love these Mexican blankets because they are dense and they'll hold the body weight really well. But not everybody has those. And so what works as well is a nice towel is nice and dense. If you have a couch throw that's dense, that's fantastic. But I usually take the width of my hand and I fold it over. Smooth out any wrinkles, fold it over again. If you've got the block, we're going to use the block in the baby bear position, in the shortest position. I like that baby bear, mama bear, papa bear. That was taught to me by Judith Lassiter. I never forgot it. So, all right, so we'll have that nearby. Let's lower onto our back with our knees bent. Now, if you have a ponytail that might be preventing you from letting your head rest onto the mat, take that out. We don't want the chin to be tucked into the chest. We want the nose to be pointing towards the ceiling. Now think of the width of your block. I want you to have about that space between your feet here. Hands are going to release down to the mat with the palms facing the floor. Now I want you to press into your feet, but I want you to press more into the outside of your foot. Now we're not lifting away. I want you to notice, what do you feel in the legs and the glutes? Where is the effort here? If you were to push on the outside of your feet more than the inside of your feet. And then I want you to soften into that effort. Take a deep breath here. And now I want you to widen the toes a little bit, or just invite them to widen. Now I want you to press into the big toe mound and into the inside of your heel. And I want you to just press straight down without lifting the body away from the floor. We're just inviting engagement here. What feels different? Can you feel more effort in your inner thighs? Can you feel more effort in your glutes? And just to compare that again, let that soften. Take a deep breath here. And now press more to the outside of your feet. We're not lifting once again, we're just creating downwards pressure from the feet to notice which muscles of the legs are firing up here. Soften into the outside of the feet, so release them. And now draw more pressure into the big toe mound and the inside of the heel. Once again, notice, can you feel how much more effort happens within the legs when we shift where gravity is in the foot? And now continue to push down and lift the pelvis away from the mat. Now, how high the body lifts is completely up to you. What engaging the inner thighs does through the feet is it prevents our knees from splaying wide as well. The muscles that support the knee joint are deeply engaged. Now very softly let the pelvis land in the natural curves of the spine. Take a deep breath and experience the sensation of that pose leaving the body. How does it change the breath? And now draw the center of gravity back towards the big toe mound. The inside of the heel, press down to lift the pelvis away. Now this might be the bus stop for you. If you can, I want you to roll your shoulders underneath your back and clasp your hands with your arms straight underneath your tailbone, underneath your sacrum. Keep pressing in the inside of the feet. You might have lost it when you came onto the shoulders. Now if you find that you have to have the elbows bent or that you are straining and you're pulling into the wrists in order to just hold this pose, I want you to come back down so that the shoulders are broad, that we're not rolled underneath. In a case like that, I recommend a strap underneath to give space for the wrists and the arms. Now, if you have clasped your hands under your sacrum, gently release the hands, open the shoulders, and allow the pelvis to land. Now, if you have got a block, I want you to take that block in the baby bear position, and I want you to place it underneath your sacrum. If you have a blanket, take that blanket, lift the pelvis away, and place it underneath the sacrum. Hands are resting down on the mat, palms facing the floor. And we're going to try to lift the feet together. So what I want you to do is lift both heels, slowly peel the pads of the feet off of your mat so that the big toes are the only thing that is touching, and try as best as you can to let both feet lift away from the mat together. Extend the legs upwards into a version of legs up the wall, Viparita Karani. There's many variations to this pose. One of my favorites is actually resting my calves on a chair or my couch. And now Now, just as we lifted those legs together, I want you to start to bend the knees. I want those feet, if possible, to land at the same time. Let the foot soles meet the mat. Take a deep breath and feel the change that the pose has created within your breath. Lift away from the support underneath your back. And then once again, knees stay bent, palms face the floor. I want you to press through the heels to lift the pelvis just a tiny bit away from the mat. Turn the pelvis to land on your right hip, and then bring your knees over to continue the twist. Now, if you find that the left shoulder is trying to lift away from the mat as you twist, I want you to take that block or your blanket and place it underneath your knees. Rotation is such a wonderful movement in our spines, but we need to be mindful of the lumbar spine because it does not rotate. It's approximately 3% rotation. There's a lot of wonderful little bony structures to prevent that rotation from happening. And because we twist so much in yoga, we can do harm to that part of our back. So be kind. If that shoulder starts to lift, that means we're creating torque in the lumbar spine. Let's take that pressure away from that wonderful part of our body. And then bring yourself back to center. Bring the pelvis back into neutral. Take a deep breath. And then press through your heels to lift the pelvis just a few inches away from the floor. Turn the pelvis to land on the left hip and let the knees follow. Once again, if you need that support, place that support underneath your legs so that we can rotate without doing any sort of torquing throughout the lumbar spine. Now allow yourself to come back to center, bringing the pelvis back into neutral. If there is any other movement that the body is asking for, maybe you want to hug the knees in and rock from side to side. Maybe you wish to draw the nose towards the knees. Maybe the body wants a full length stretch as we prepare for a short shavasana. Find whatever you need for comfort. Blankets, bolsters, eye pillows. Anything that will help support the body and take us away from those little annoying movements that draw us away from the mind. Close your eyes. Just begin to observe your breath. Just let the body breathe itself and notice, what have I changed? What has my practice transformed? Notice the thoughts as they start to drift through the mind. And can you identify those thoughts? Are they past? Are they future? Are they present? Are they events that actually happened? And then can you just let them go? So move into a few minutes of silence. Know that I am watching over you, that you are safe, and that you are completely taken care of. Allow your awareness to slowly drift back into your body by inviting a long, deep breath. Beginning to notice your surroundings by what you can sense without your eyes. Letting that awareness move into your fingers and your toes, creating gentle little movements. Maybe reaching your arms overhead in a full body stretch. When that stretch wishes to release, let it do so. Bring your arms and your knees to center and softly roll onto your right hand side. Lie in this position for a few breaths, and then when you are ready, with your eyes remaining closed, come into Sukhasana, easy seated pose facing the front of your mat. Find comfort and stillness when you arrive. And then bring your hands together at your heart. Connect deeply with sensation within the Anahata chakra, within your heart. Prior to filming this, I was reading about the yamas and niyamas, Deborah Adele's book, and there was one part about the tapas that jumped out at me. It's actually a quote by Charlene Westerman. Speaks truthfully to the danger and the possibility of catharsis when she states that during these times we have two choices, to break down or to break open. We can't prevent these times of catharsis in our life or know their shape or outcome, but we can prepare ourselves for them through our daily practice, through building our ability to stay in unpleasantness, and through the small daily choices that we make. Tapas. Stay away from the cookies and come to the mat. Thank you all so much for watching this beautiful practice. My heart shines to each and every one of you. Namaste.